Netanyahu has said Israel will not be satisfied with anything other than total victory over Hamas. He also said Israeli troops have been ordered to prepare to operate in Rafah in southern Gaza. Let's listen to some of what he had to say.
Tonight I am here to tell you one thing. We are on our way to a complete victory. The victory is at our reach. It's not about years or decades, it's about months. The IDF is doing wonderful work. It's working systematically in order to achieve all of the goals of the war that we...
This is such funny copium. Yeah, dude, no, definitely. The IDF is doing wonderful work. We love starving children and just like directly killing them with missiles. They're doing such a good job.
The political ranks have given it, which is relinquishing Hamas, releasing the hostages and making sure Gaza is not threatening Israel anymore. To begin with, I said that the final victory is our goal. This was the decision I brought to the government at the beginning of the war, and we will not be satisfied with less.
On the next half an hour, we're expecting to hear from US Secretary of State Antony Blinken following his talks with Israeli and Palestinian officials. Now, those talks come after what many people see as a positive reaction from Hamas to a proposed ceasefire deal which was put together last week. But Mr. Blinken has now met both the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, and President Isaac Herzog, and has described a ceasefire deal as both possible and essential. Well, some reports suggest the plan provides for a truce of at least 40 days in return for the release of civilian hostages held by Hamas. For now, though, the war, which broke out in October, continues. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza said at least 100 people were killed overnight, and there has been further heavy bombing of southern cities, including in Rafah. Meanwhile, Israel says 31 of the hostages held by Hamas and other groups in Gaza are now known to have died. Well, let's hear now from Mr. Blinken about the ongoing hostage situation.
The hostages are foremost on our minds and in our hearts. As you know, we now have a response from Hamas to the proposal that was put on the table.
Israel's first proposal literally was like, okay, guys, we have a really good idea. You release all the hostages, and then every single person within Hamas comes out and kills themselves publicly in the public square, and then maybe we'll stop killing all your children. Okay? And then that's basically what they went to the table with. This was like a month ago at this point. And remember when everybody was like, Hamas doesn't want a ceasefire. Fucking got him. Yeah. It seems like someone needs to tell you that Hamas is the people that don't want the ceasefire. Like every single fucking dude with that very specific accent, that Israeli SNL accent, I call it. It seems to me like Hamas is the real people that don't want a ceasefire. Have you told the people in America? All of the people in the West want totally Hamas to come and rape their daughters too, which is what they do. And then if you looked at if you actually looked at the goddamn deal, it literally was like, okay, we will release, if you release hostages, and then what you do is you bring Hamas outside and you kill yourself as Hamas in the public square, and then maybe we kill only half the babies, half the terror babies. So they said no to that, understandably. And now the ceasefire deal is like actually formulated and is a little bit more normal.
The way forward, we're looking at it intensely.
Well, Gershon Baskin was an Israeli negotiator for 17 years. He gave his assessment on the ceasefire negotiations.
The Hamas response does enable some room to maneuver if Hamas would be willing to separate the first phase from the second and the third. In other words, if Hamas wants a ceasefire now for 45 days, which is something that I think the Israeli army would like as well, this could be done and we could see the release of civilian hostages from Gaza, those who were remaining alive.
Well, with me now is BBC's chief international correspondent, Lise Doucette. And Lise, a difficult job for Mr. Blinken.
This puts him in a very, very tough position. All we've had is these very public remarks by Prime Minister Netanyahu, a ferocious rebuke to these really incessant efforts by the United States and its Arab partners to come up with a plan. And it's hard to square Prime Minister Netanyahu's description of the Hamas counteroffer as delusional with the remarks we heard yesterday from the Qatari Prime Minister, a key mediator in these talks. He described it as positive. Antony Blinken, in his first remarks, we'll wait to hear from him shortly, he had said that it was the best way forward, a lot of work still to be done, but trying to give a sense that there was still something to work for. But listening to Prime Minister Netanyahu, you had a feeling that this was dead in the water. Now, he may be saying that for public effect. It is known, sources say that sometimes in private negotiations, he adopts a different tone and a greater readiness to consider proposals. But the Israelis seem to see this as an effort by Hamas to end the war on its own.
Everyone is so dumb on this issue where they're literally like, they are just refusing to recognize that there is one party that is basically doing Nazi politics here, and it is not motherfucking Hamas, okay? I know that everybody loved talking about how like Hamas is ISIS, Hamas are Nazis or whatever. But no, like Benjamin Netanyahu comes out every fucking day and is like, I want to murder every Palestinian child. I'm so horny for murder. There is nothing that keeps me going more than murdering Palestinian children. Like every day, no two-state solution. How about no one-state solution? How about no state solution? How about a final solution? Literally every day he says this, okay? And then there's like TikTok videos of soldiers on the ground who are like, I am an Israeli soldier and I heard my fucking commander-in-chief, Benjamin Netanyahu, say final solution to all the Palestinians, and I agree with it. I am genocidal. I'm doing acts of genocide every day. But then when you look at Western media and their approach to the coverage, they're like, well, people say that, like, although he's saying incredibly genocidal things in public all the time, every single day, behind closed doors, Benjamin Netanyahu is quite reserved. Okay? Seems like he's quite reserved behind closed doors and, like, willing to concede. It's like, no, he's not. Why is nobody being honest about it? Okay? Nobody is being honest about it. It's so fucking weird. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't want a ceasefire. He wants to keep doing the baby murder machine. He wants to crank it up.
Own terms, which is utterly unacceptable. But it's interesting what Gershon Baskin said, which goes to the heart of the matter now. Is it possible to salvage something from this proposal? The Hamas counteroffer is a three-phased one over about 135 days. And the first phase, which would include a temporary pause of about 45 days, would release the most vulnerable of the hostages: women, children, the elderly, the ones of which there is greatest concern about. There's concern about all of them, but those first, in exchange for some prisoners and some desperately needed humanitarian aid. But we'll see just what kind of a tone Antony Blinken adopts. It's very, because this is all there is right now.
And it's all about tone, isn't it, really? Because if you heard the tone of Mr. Netanyahu, you could feel there that there was no conciliatory element in his tone at all.
But there never is. His mantra has not shifted an inch. Total victory, absolute victory. And tonight he said it was within touching distance. It was a matter of months. Now, as you know, when you've reported on your program, there had been assessments by his own military team that actually they weren't that close, that Hamas was actually even in the north of the Gaza Strip, which has been razed to the ground, where Israeli forces in large part moved away from to concentrate on the south. Hamas was reestablishing civilian control. Hamas is still able to fire rockets at Israel. And of course, alarm bells are ringing right up to the UN Secretary General. Antonio Guterres said, if you carry out what you say is your plan, then to go for Rafah at the southernmost corner, where half of the population has been pushed, this would be the disaster of disasters.
In the meantime, people are still dying in Gaza. We saw the Hamas-run health minister saying over 100 were killed just in the last, I think, day or so. Over 27 1,000 Palestinians, and of course there are still Israeli hostages being held there.
I mean, Marion, we just reported that 100 died. You know, before all this, if one person died, it would have been a story. Now, given the enormity of this staggering death toll, the United Nations says that if you try to tally up the dead, the missing, and the injured, it's actually 100,000 people, with some 17,000 children having lost one or both parents. That's a 5% of Gaza's population. And Prime Minister Netanyahu and the public opinion in Israel backs him. They want him to hit Hamas hard as well, are saying they want this war to continue. But tonight, of course, we've heard of the anguish of the families of the hostages. They, of course, there's been that blow that 31 families were told their loved ones are dead. That's a fifth of the hostages in Gaza. So tonight, they are urging the Prime Minister and others again to put the lives of the hostages first before the military plan.
In addition to all of us wanting some sort of resolution there, the President of the United States wants it over with because he's so underwater on the numbers regarding Gaza and Israel. I think we yesterday cited a poll where only 3 in 10 Americans think that what he's doing is a good idea. Here's the president yesterday, and it's hard for him to get through this soundbite. He does sound confused. And at one point, he confuses Hamas with, like, the loyal opposition. Hamas is not a party. It's a bunch of bloodthirsty killers. Anyway, here's the president yesterday responding to a question about this hostage deal.
There is some movement, and I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words. There's some movement. There's been a response from there's been a response from the opposition, but yes, I'm sorry, from Hamas, but it seems to be a little over the top. We're not sure where it is. There's a continuing negotiation right now.
It's pretty unbelievable that the press has to help him out on this.
Dude, I love when people come in and they're like, come on, guys, like, Biden is just a little old. He's not that bad. This doesn't read that badly on camera. That's my favorite thing that liberals try to do nowadays. He's old as fuck, but this is like the one case where he really should take his time and choose his words carefully. I mean, I don't even care that he called Hamas the opposition. That part is not that bad. I'm purely on the aesthetics of the matter. Okay? Because optics matter. Optics fucking matter. You have nothing else. The entire reason to vote for Biden was the optics of stability over the optics of chaos that Trump brought. This is what I've been saying about Israel. With respect to Biden's dealings with Israel, this is what I've said. If Biden stood strong behind Israel, like firmly supported Israel, I think his numbers would not look so bad. And the proof there is the fact that there are more Americans. There's a higher percentage of Americans that believe Trump would do a better job with Israel. I think Biden's genuine issue with Israel is that he's trying to do the both sides, talking out of both sides of his mouth. And because he's no longer the fucking old school campaigner, retail politician, charismatic person that he used to be, he can't deal with it. So it translates as weakness and it translates as senility. Okay? If Biden came out and was like, Israel should nuke Gaza, Jack, I think he would have more support than what he has currently. If he took a strong stance against Israel, he would probably also still have more support than he has currently, because currently he doesn't have any support on the matter at all. Because he is trying to make it seem like he wants to rein in Israel, but everything he's doing is actually saying, go ahead, Israel. He's giving the green light to Israel to do genocide, while simultaneously making it seem like on the optics front that he's quietly talking behind closed doors to bring this conflict to a fucking end. And that looks awful. Why? Because nobody believes that. Anyone that looks at that situation and even believes that Biden is actually behind closed doors, like promoting something entirely different, still hears Benjamin Netanyahu, who literally, right after Joseph Robinette Biden, every day goes on television and says, Joseph Robinette Biden is wrong. I actually do want to do genocide. I do not believe in a two-state solution. Every fucking day. That makes him look like a bitch. That makes Biden look like a bitch. That's crazy. It makes him look weak, and Biden's worst issue right now is the optics of the matter, is the fact that he looks senile, the fact that he comes across as old, the fact that he looks like he's fallen asleep at the wheel.
Issue is kind of an important factor to actually get Hamas right.
They're terrorists. They're not the opposition.
You got that latest NBC poll. 76% of Americans are concerned about his age. That includes Democrats and independents. And this just furthers the narrative. You know, a lot of people are saying we feel sad about this. I think a lot of people within the Jewish community are furious about this. He can't be on the ticket. I just don't see how it happens.
I mean, that's the Democratic option right there.
Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, evidently he says he's a effing fill in the blank.
The president.
Biden on Netanyahu. So they have horrible relations. Yet his backing of Israel has lost a lot of the Arab community. He's unable to tell his side of the story. If you see some of the protests in New York, it's not so as much as they're saying ceasefire, they're pro-Hamas.
Yeah.
So there's a huge portion of this country that's pro-Hamas. That's a huge problem. And not only so he takes this stance. He is not all in because he's against the sitting government that he's backing. The munitions, they're in desperate need of munitions right now, according to many reports. Can't seem to marshal that. And at the same time, he can't even reiterate, he can't even defend his stance for Israel.
Well, and our reporters should be able to go into the White House press briefing room and talk about what's happening around the country, what our solutions are. But instead, reporters like Peter Doocy, our White House correspondent, has to go in and ask Karine Jean-Pierre about this president's mental health. Not only did yesterday, you just saw that soundbite of him stumbling, the long pauses. The day before, he got mixed up, called President Macron President Mitterrand, who died in 1996. This is every day now a stumble.
You just asked. One of the beautiful souls in the chat asked the funniest question. Is Fox pro-Israel? I don't know what we can call what Fox News does to be pro-Israel, because I feel like it goes so far beyond just being simply pro-Israel. Okay? Like, Fox would literally take Palestinian children hostage if they could. Okay? They are so unimaginably pro-Israel. What do you think? They love genocide across the board. Like, in the United States of America, in the voter eligible population, you're either pro-Israel or you're so incredibly pro-Israel that you want to hate crime every Arab you've seen. Okay? That's it. That's like, it only goes super pro-Israel or, oh my God, you are literally a fascist. That's how pro-Israel you are. Fox is the second type of pro-Israel. They have a massive audience of pro-Israel Christian Zionists. And as a matter of fact, it seems, according to New York Times reporting on the matter at least, that post-October 7, a lot of American Jews who normally are more progressive on domestic issues, except for Israel, and not very reactionary when it comes to Israel, but very progressive when it comes to domestic issues, have switched over to watch Fox News' coverage because CNN and MSNBC were not sufficiently pro-Israel enough.
A blunder, can't put words together, and that's what Peter asked her about. Listen.
Liberals have the same takes on Israel as Fox, but with a furrowed brow. Not even. They just have the identical issue.
How is President Biden ever going to convince the 3/4 of voters who are worried about his physical and mental health that he is okay, even though in Las Vegas he told a story about recently talking to a French president who died in 1996?
I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole with you, sir.
What is
We're
the
going to
go.
Go ahead.
See, what she could have done right there, she could have simply said what you said, Ainsley. The president said Mitterrand, he met Macron. She could have explained it that simply. She would have just said he got confused. The problem is,
She never said he got confused.
Well, that's why, Brian, because the Republicans are saying, look, the president is confused. Then if it is reiterated by her own press secretary, look, he said Mitterrand meant Macron, it would have validated everything the Republicans are saying about the president, who he's struggling. We all struggle from time to time. Unfortunately, he's the most powerful man in the world, and he's got to be at the top of his game every day.
Yeah, we can't have a weak president when we have all these international conflicts going on, and that doesn't even include the domestic issues. I think the press secretary has made it very, very clear, as well as everybody else in the administration, that they want to avoid the answer. But you have 76% of Americans.
Damn, dog. Fox News has the fucking senile Biden compilation down to the down to the wire. Look at this shit. This is a wild copy that they have. They went sicko mode on this.
Americans that feel the same way. We can't all be crazy here.
Well, unless
Jen Psaki used to set almost policy for and almost give the president cues on what to do because she was so conversant in the policies. KJP can't even cover for the president, and she doesn't even seem to prepare for her own press conferences.
Well, she could have made it easier. But then again, the alternative is maybe he actually does talk to dead people. Just saying. I saw a movie like that once. Anyway, that's what the president said yesterday. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Yeah.